Hey, Dave Molenda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you. As you know, each week I try to come up with these questions that really are plaguing me or somebody that I know. And this one's like really easy until you kind of dig down into it. And so it's kind of a rhetorical question, but it's kind of not. And we're going to unpack it today. And it's really six words that are really powerful. And it's, do you love what you do? And, everybody's like, yeah, I love what I do. And then they think about it for a little while and they're like, yeah, maybe not. And so we're going to unpack this today. I'm honored to be hanging out with David Wescott. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. You are the CEO of Transblue Franchise Company. So what in the world is franchise company Transblue? What do we got going on over there?
Well, I like to think that we have a lot of fun, but some might disagree with me on
LinkedIn stuff I've been seeing, based on your LinkedIn stuff I've been seeing, you've been having a ton of fun. So congratulations.
I do have a ton of fun. I want to clarify one thing though. All of that fun is always based around some kind of work trip. I just want you to know that I'm not out partying and traveling the world just for fun. It's all
sounds like a justification here to me, my friend. I'm just
justification is good. I'll follow that.
Awesome. Well, I'm honored to hang out. So fill us in on what Transblue Franchise Company is.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. Transblue Franchise. So we focus on construction services in the franchise world. So, like you might drive down the road and see a McDonald's or a Burger King or something, you see a Transblue franchise. And that Transblue franchise work in specific territories all the way from Seattle to Boston, down to New Orleans to Texas, California, all across the U.S.
Okay.
And they specialize in providing construction services to residential, commercial, and government facilities. And so any of those construction services typically are on the outside of the property. So roofing, siding, concrete, asphalt, my favorite, snow removal. And sometimes we get into the interior of the building doing tenant improvements and remodels.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, and so I'm just curious right off the bat, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening. And I'm assuming that franchising, there's a ton of advantage. This is new to me when you and I got connected a couple of years ago. Again, most people are thinking Burger King and McDonald's and that kind of thing as a franchise. Yeah. So there's a structure that franchising brings to somebody that they might not otherwise have. I'm assuming that's one of the big advantages of the franchise piece. So what are, if somebody was interested on the call and they wanted to learn more about that franchise model, what are a couple advantages that you guys bring to an average entrepreneur?
I think I think the bonus is, like all of us who have been in business and started a business and grown that business, I think there is just a ton of pain in the early years. And when I started my business, I didn't have a coach. Like if I needed an answer to something, I might call a friend or my mom or my dad. But if they weren't in business, they were just giving that best advice. And I think there's so many landmines that you can walk through as an entrepreneur and business owner that cost you tons of money. And I think the biggest advantage to franchising is it's business in a box. The box is created. You don't have to think outside of it. All you have to do is run the play and be good at exercising what's in the box. And I think that all of those landmines have been, avoided for you. And so, you can choose to go through them or sidestep them. And I think that's the best way to explain franchising and why it's important and why I think it is a benefit over just going at it cold.
Sure. And you could have used that franchise model, David, for pretty much anything. Why dial in and land on construction? Was there a certain drive that you had to it or a pull towards it, or what caused you to go there?
This is a great question. You know what? I got into construction because I was good at construction, and it's what I've always done. So, I figure, if you're gonna work with somebody, if you're gonna teach somebody something, if you're gonna put together a system, you should be an expert at it. Sure. And I like to think that I'm an expert in construction.
Sure. Wow. Well, that's cool. So your whole life you were in construction, and then you thought you must have created a model that you thought was scalable and was able to be duplicated around the country. And so how many franchises do you guys have currently right now?
Yeah, great question. I think we have about 20 in some sort of, operating, about to operate, or, going through training. So we're growing quickly. And I think we have plans to open about 50 this year. So that's kind of what our strategy is.
Holy cow. Well, that keeps you busy. So that's the reason you're out traveling. You're out looking for places, and then you just decide to tack some fun on the back end. Is that that's the story?
That's part of the story, because I think you got to enjoy life, right? You got to enjoy what you do. And if it's all business all the time, I never wanted to be one of those dads. I've got kids. I never wanted to be one of those dads that was like, hey, my childhood was, we had all these privileges and benefits, but I never knew my dad. And
Yeah.
so part of it is I want to make a great experience for my kids, and my kids and wife come to every trip I go on. And so, we're always hanging out in there and seeing amazing things.
That's so cool. And so I want to circle back to the original question about that, because I found kind of that stream, that concept on both your website and on your LinkedIn profile, David, about loving what you do. And there's people listening right now that don't love what they do. And so tell me, what's like the first step if I kind of think on this today and I'm like, man, you know what, this is interesting. I might be good at construction, or I might be good at business. I might be good at both. What's kind of the first step for you in that franchising to see if that model would be good for somebody listening?
I think it comes down to me, it doesn't matter if it's a Burger King, a Transblue, it doesn't really matter. I think it's the conduit, and I call that the conduit. The business is kind of like the conduit, and that's gonna get you, that's gonna allow you to make the money that you want to make. And I think it's important that you research and that you have some kind of idea of what that business can yield you and how you're going to become profitable at it. Because I think, it's all about profit. It's all about being able to you can't take care of your family. You can't take care of yourself. You can't do any of those things, without the profit. So you have to say, can I see myself doing this? And is this a path to profitability? Because what you don't want to do is open a business and then not make any profit, right? So I think I look at those two things right off the bat. And then I say, okay, let's start taking some steps forward and let's investigate this. And I think that, after being in business for a while, that the most important thing to me is, do I like the people that I'm working with? And so I think as a prospective franchisee or employee or whomever you are, you need to be interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. And you need to say, do I like these people? Can I spend 8 hours a day with these people? Can I go out to dinner with these people? And if they do, then you've got some steps in the right direction.
I sure see a lot of pictures on LinkedIn at you at the dinner table. So obviously food is,
I'm not afraid to eat, man. I can put some food away. Okay, we can make that happen.
Yeah, and hey, I can totally appreciate that. I mean, it's interesting because there are probably people listening right now that appreciate that particular idea of trying to start this, but I think the brakes go on, or the fear comes in as soon as you said, I got to have a team, and I have to have engaged employees, and I have to have these, how do I go from it's just me, David, to where I start to build these teams? I mean, what does that building look like in that growth?
Awesome question. I think this is one of the biggest things that any business owner struggles with. Not only those starting their businesses, but I think it's learning to let go, right? Like, when it's all you and it's just you and you're right there, you can control everything. You can deliver an incredible customer experience because it's all on you. But to scale and to grow and to take your business to the next level, you have to trust 1, 2, 3, 4, 50 people, right? And so it's about really setting the expectation. I like to say, if you don't know the rules by which we're playing this game, then I've done a bad job of describing what this business is about. I'm sure you've played Monopoly before.
I have.
Right? If we were playing Monopoly together and I said, hey, you don't get to collect $200 when you pass go, you'd be like, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah.
that this game can divide friendships and create, family wars,
Yeah. Yep.
So it's the same in business. We got to set the rules by which we're going to play the game. And I think that's so important when you scale. And I think that employees want to do an amazing job for you. They want to do an amazing job for your business, but they don't always get the clear communication on what an amazing job looks like. So we set the table, we trust them, we know they're going to make mistakes, we learn from those mistakes, and we make sure that we don't repeat those mistakes. But mistakes are good as long as we don't make them over and over and over again. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it looked like TransBlue's mission was like turnkey solutions, outstanding service, and great communication. So, if those align with you, the listener, then that's why, I wanted to have David jump on the call today, because, I think that we as business owners have this obligation to give outstanding service, and the word outstanding can mean different things to different people. So I want to kind of look at that. The turnkey solutions are kind of what you do. I want to look at the outstanding service and how you do it. So, what do you define as outstanding service, David? When those two words are in your mind, what comes to your brain as far as the definition of that?
Yeah, outstanding service. I want to preface this with, I don't believe the customer is always right.
Oh, okay.
I believe you got to have a little backbone once in a while. You know what I mean? But outstanding service to me, I think it's the little touches, and I can speak to my world, but I think that it's just, if the customer is spending the money with you, it comes down to just one, being honest with them. If there's a delay, being honest about a delay. But I think that it comes down to having really good communication, because I think in any business, one of the things that's difficult or frustrating is I can't get a hold of these people. Where are they? Right. And I think that's a huge killer, right? So great communication, responding to the clients, and that's part of your culture. So, at my business, I want every single person responded to every single day. When I leave the office, my inbox is at 0. Right. And then from there, it's just delivering on your promises. I can, when you want an amazing customer service, it comes down to honoring who you are. People hate change orders. They hate to know that you made a mistake. I made a mistake on a job with a customer. I underbid a snow site in Elko, Nevada. And the price that I had to pay the subcontractor was $2,500 more than the service. And it's a 39-inch market. And so, I ate like 50 grand, but I never brought it up to the customer. I took immaculate care of the customer. The customer never knew there was an issue. So I think that's outstanding to me. And then I think it's listening to your customers, because they provide you with feedback in many different ways. And if you don't listen to your customers, I believe that you'll be out of business quicker than anything can happen. So I really try to focus on those 3 pillars.
And it's so crazy, David, how simple this can kind of boil down to. I mean, the 2 words that I wrote down for this is communicate and listen. Neither one of them cost any money. Neither one of them are very difficult. However, these seem to be the 2 hardest things for an average entrepreneur or business owner to actually, dial into. I mean, rarely do I ever hear a company being accused of over communicating. Oh, they called me too much. Oh my gosh, they were at my house too often. They sent me too much information, right? Now, granted, you might be on a spam list of emails where you get 5 or 10 a day. That's like, automatic. But in this case, how often do you get accused of over communicating? I mean, is that something that you guys strive for? Is that something you wish that you would hear every single time? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that we get accused of communicating very well, but I can tell you that I don't think I've ever heard a customer say you over communicate,
Yeah.
and, our goal, we call them 2-a-days, right? Just like on the football field, we want to communicate with every customer twice a day. That's the goal during an ongoing project. And sometimes that's not enough, but at the end of the day, we want to have that constant communication with the clients. And I think it's just hard to achieve because it's massive discipline, right? Because so many things come up in your day, and the customers that you need to communicate with can sometimes, get a seat on the back of the bus. And so I think it's really important to keep that on the forefront of the company and put those KPIs in there. I think you reward the behavior, right? Because if you don't reward it, they're not going to work towards it. And I think that you have to be really focused on it as a discipline, and it's got to be part of your culture. And I like to say it's a culture of discipline, not in a bad way, just of, hey, we're going to be really disciplined about our communication with our customers.
Sure. So for you listening, if you're 2 a day, there people are going 2 a day, David. I'm lucky to do 2 a week. So I mean, again, that's why we bring this every week, because there's little course corrections that we see along the way that, maybe this is what you needed. That's why you jumped on this podcast today, was because you aren't communicating enough with your customer. I don't know why you're on this. I appreciate it. I just want you to walk away with something and think about how important your customer must feel. If you're doing 2 a days for them, David, they got to be just excited. They got to be really confident that you're doing the right job. And quite frankly, they trust that you're doing it the right way. When we don't hear from people, I think that's where, fear starts to creep in, and problems start to creep in. So I'm assuming the 2 a days have been very successful for you.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They work really well.
And then the second part of that is the listening piece, because if you're going to call me twice a day, but you're not going to listen to me, it doesn't really pay to call. So, kind of the second piece is the listening, right?
Yeah, the listening is so important. I was actually listening to something that you said, and you said that, Blockbuster Video got a lot of notices about, hey, don't have these late fees past 9 o'clock at night, and they didn't listen to their customers, and what happened with them. They were gone. Ever since I heard you say that, that's been with me in my mind. Listen to your customer, because whatever they had, 8,900 locations are gone, right? Because they didn't listen to their customers. So it's huge, right? That's on the forefront of everything we do.
So let me ask you this, David, because if there's someone listening and they are more on the business or more on the construction side, not as much on the business side, is that where you train them, help them, come alongside them, coach them, whatever the words are? Because I can see somebody struggling to listen or communicate. They're like, I just want to do the job. I just want to replace the roof, or I just want, or whatever it is. So you guys come alongside your franchisees and then kind of, jump on them and help them along the way, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. I think a lot of it comes down to active listening, right? And I think this is something that we preach on and coach, but if you and I, or if I'm at your house or I'm at your place and I'm giving you a proposal, the first thing I want to do is take notes, because I don't care how good you are. If you don't take notes, you're not going to remember everything, right? I always worry about that waiter or waitress at the restaurant who's got a table of 10 people and they're like, yeah, I got it all. I know something's coming missing, right? Something's going to get forgotten. Plus, it's the peace of mind that goes with taking notes. And I think that it gives the customer a sense of, okay, they are here, they are listening, they are paying attention. Right. And then active listening, just repeat it back. Make sure you heard it all correctly. And that gives you a chance to correct anything that you may have missed. It gives you clarified points on the jobs. But those 2 little techniques right there just build trust, and it shows them that they understand what you're doing. And so we really preach on just keeping it really, really simple, not a lot of crazy processes, just pens, papers, and active listening.
Yeah. And again, it's free. And that's the thing that's so crazy to me. And I know everybody listening has that problem of thinking of the next thing to say while your customer's talking or your prospect's talking. And we try and explain so often to think of a blank sheet of paper, don't have any preconceived notions going in, because it's really hard to consider your next thought while you're still listening to the existing client, right? That's right in front of you. So I think that's so huge. And I think that contractors, I've been in the construction industry most of my life, and I know that contractors are accused of not listening, not showing up, not being, reliable, and all these different things. So I think that adding the franchise layer to that really adds an accountability, I would guess. So for me as the consumer, Transblue looks like a better deal or a better road because we have these different layers of people that are along for the ride, so to speak. So is that tend to be a positive for a consumer to work with a franchised company in this?
I think so. I just like you said, contractors can get a bad rap, kind of like a used car salesman, right?
Yep.
And so I think it's important because what that brings to the table is continuity, consistency, right? Those you want the construction work to be the same in Seattle as it is Boston, just like the Big Mac tax, the same in Seattle as it does in Boston, right? So I think that really provides the customer with peace of mind. And then training, like, what have you been through? What have you done? Like those things just validate, who you are, and you've got a system and you've got a process, and it separates you, from the competition. And people like to buy from people that they trust, right?
Yep.
And so I think it helps them establish trust right off the bat because all of those cues have already been set in place for them and they just have to follow the play.
That's so cool. And that's where, again, why reinvent the wheel? It seems like this has already been done. It's got a successful track record. And I think what you said is so true that isn't it amazing that the cheeseburger in, one city tastes the exact as the cheeseburger in another city? I mean, you would think that there'd be some little deviation of something, a tomato in the ketchup or, wheat for the bread or whatever. But man, it's like I've never tasted two different burgers. Not that I eat a ton of them, but in my day, I've probably had a few and I never had a deviation of taste.
It's true.
So that's so powerful here on your customer experience because we know that people will pay more for a better experience.
Yep.
We know that customers are looking for that, and I think the fact that each customer is different creates a little bit different of an experience. But your turnkey solutions, outstanding service, and then the great communication with those tenets of faith, so to speak, those really are what people coming into the franchise as well as customers are looking for. I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
So
that's awesome. And then you kind of went even deeper into like have grit. You start talking about, is this for you? And your kind of your culture there is you got to have grit. So when you say have grit, what did that mean for you when you wrote that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It actually used to be get your boots wet before it was grit, but people had a hard time envisioning what get your boots wet meant. And basically what it means is that, no matter where you stand in the company, right? No matter if you're a top level executive or a snowplow pusher, on a side corner, you're all expected to get dirty and get in there and make it happen. I can tell you, the lawyer who represents my company, my general counsel, he's been in a little John Deere Gator pushing snow before, top executive guys driving 150 miles to plow a lot if it needed. So everybody is in this to work together, right? No position is above one another. No position is above anyone. And I think that equals the playing field, and it shows people we are in this together. We are moving forward as a team.
And then that's where your for each other piece comes into play, that this is not about me. I mean, that's the hard part with entrepreneurs. And I'm interested to get your feedback, David, because entrepreneurs are starting businesses for a lot of selfish reasons. I mean, let's be real. We want to control this or we want to control that. We want. And I don't think they're bad ideas. There's not good or bad ideas for whatever reason you're starting a company. How do you then turn your vision outward when everything about you is inward? I mean, that's kind of a tough transition.
I think this is, you are taking, I think you think of yourself as a caretaker, right? Your goal is to take care of your employees and give them the best life possible. One of the questions I ask is, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? You want a lake house? You want 2 horses? I don't know. You want college education? These
Sure.
are your goals. How are you going to reach them and use this vehicle, this business as a vehicle to get there? And I think that that's very important because you're helping them reach their goals. It makes your business about their life. And I think that that's important. And if you were to think of your employees as a volunteer, like they came in to volunteer for the day, how would you treat them? Would you yell at them if they made a mistake? Would you come in a bad mood? I have the power to wreck anybody's day right in the beginning. I can come right in and make it miserable, or I can make it awesome. And I
Yeah.
think it's about having a positive environment that people love to be at, and that they see that their life is moving forward for their benefit. And I think that's powerful. That's what for each other is all about. And if there's a mistake, you don't say, "Oh man, I can't believe my company did that. They've been doing it all the time. This is an epidemic here." You don't badmouth your own company, right? Stand up for it. Take
Yeah.
care of
Aren't we in a spot right now in our society where it's everyone else's fault but mine? I mean,
it. Absolutely.
I work with sales professionals all over the country, and I've heard them all. It's the competitor's fault, it's the customer's fault, it's the weather's fault, it's the government. I mean, there's every imaginable thing. I mean, it's so awesome when somebody takes responsibility and says, "I messed up. I want to make this right. I'm sorry." I mean, it's like, wow, what just happened? you
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's
Taking
just,
ownership, right? Taking
yeah.
ownership of the issue.
Absolutely. Your next one then is to be engaged. And so I kind of wanted to touch on this one
This is my
because
favorite.
I assumed it was. So tell me, what does that mean to you?
I love this. This call is a perfect example. If we were on this call together and I wasn't 100% engaged in what we were talking about, it would be bad for the call. If I had my email up in the background or I was checking text messages, what would be the point? But I'm 100% engaged on you. You have 100% of my time. And I think it's so easy to be distracted by our devices and our emails and our phones and our texts and social media when we're in meetings, and when we have our customers time. And I have many customers. I think my employees are my customers, my customers that pay me, my
You bet.
franchisees are my customers.
Yep.
And so I want to respect them by being engaged 100% in what they are sharing with me. And it's just that respect. And I think that engagement, it goes back to active listening, because you can't actively listen and work with a customer if you aren't 100% engaged in that activity.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's pretty visible is the right word. It's pretty visible to us as consumers when someone around us isn't engaged. I mean, whether you're going through a drive-through or somebody's taking your order, or like you said, when someone walks up and wants to take your order and they don't even have anything to write it down.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I totally agree. I question their engagement. It's like, "Hi, thanks for coming. What do you want?" There's no talk. There's no "how's your day?" There's "thank you so much. Great to see you. You look great." Whatever it is, what little small talk that can make a human being feel that much better. I mean, life's tough enough the way it is. Why in the world would I want to go and pay somebody to treat me bad, while I'm eating their food? It just doesn't make any sense. And in this case, why would I want someone to show up on my property? I mean, I had a couple of small sun tunnels installed in my house. And, I knew the company, but I didn't know the installer, and the installer was just horrible. I mean, used my tools, used my drop claws, left it a mess. And then I asked him, I said, "Just out of curiosity, what's the warranty on your labor?" And he says, "Until you see my taillights in my truck." And I didn't know if he was kidding. I mean, it was just really a bad experience,
Wow.
and so that's what I think is so powerful about the franchise model. And that's why I appreciate you jumping on today with me, because there's a ton of people that want to fix up their exterior of their home, fix up the exterior of their business, need their snow plowed, whatever it is, but they're just so darn afraid to do anything because who do I trust? Like you said before, if I don't know a guy or a girl, then how do I even trust them? And that's what I love about the engagement piece. So I appreciate you sharing that one. Your next one is help first. So how is that different than for each other? I was just curious.
Yeah, this is the tagline on this is notice and do what's right. And I think, so many times in business, it's easy to, you've got an office of people and, Patricia needs some help. You have the answer to what she needs, but you're just so focused on what you're doing. Your head is buried and I got to get this all done. Hey, take a step back. It's okay. Help them,
Yeah.
be successful. Let's help each other be successful. And I think it's even one step further than that. I was at my church and there's some dumpsters out back and, somebody had ransacked through the garbage and they're all over the place. And I was driving out and I said, you know what, I can just leave that. The maintenance guy will take care of it. And I said, you know what? That's not notice and do what's right. That's not help first. So I hopped out, grabbed the kids hopped out. We cleaned up the trash. Nobody knows.
Right.
Now people know.
Now they do.
But that's just what it's all about, man. Help people first. Put yourself in that position.
And we're going so darn fast. And I get it that we don't have time to stop. And I get that we don't have time to help. I get it. Unfortunately, I think that help last or don't help, whatever your normal mantra is, or get out of my way, whatever that is for whatever. And I'm not here to be a judge. I just think there's better ways to do things. And, when you help somebody out, boy, I just know for myself, David, when I help somebody out, there's like such a cool feeling about that,
Totally.
I mean, yeah, Memorial Day, we went to a local parade and we have a Jeep and we took our doors off and we parked right next to another Jeep and we get back to there, like we're getting ready to leave. And there's a lady struggling with her Jeep trying to take her doors off. She never took them off before. So I'm like, she goes, can you tell me how to do this? I'm like, oh my gosh, totally. So I show her. I'm like, why don't I just take your 4 doors off for you? It'd be so much easier for you. So I invested about 20 minutes of my life and helped her take her doors off. But for the rest of the day, there was something like cool. There was something special. And it's not that I'm anything. It was just that it was so rewarding to help somebody. And I think that's one of the cool parts about, do you love what you do? As we refer back to that, if you love what you do, it's so easy to kind of pitch in. It's so easy to just do some of this stuff. So that's so cool that you have that as one of your 6. The 5th one is be nimble. So I was curious, bigger guys like you and me really aren't the nimble type. So I don't picture you as a little nimble back, running back in high school, but maybe you were. So I'm curious what nimble means to you.
I love being nimble. I'm a boxer. I don't know if you know that or not.
Yeah, I saw your LinkedIn. Someone gave you some stitches, huh?
That was a hockey puck, by the way. I took a slap shot off of another stick and it went up into my face mask.
Oh my gosh.
That was.
I did not know that. I did not know you were a boxer. So fill me in on your nimble part there.
So nimble, you got to move quick, right? You got to be in and out, duck and all that. But, in business, it's the same thing. There's so many, and especially everybody who just went through COVID, you got to move quick. You got to make adjustments. I think, people think, oh, I'm going to do it this way. And this is the only way I'm going to do it every single day. And they get so, stuck in their process that they're not flexible enough to be able to see opportunities or make changes quickly enough. Hey, my sales guy's having these struggles. Well, we're just going to keep pounding it the same old way.
Yeah.
Well, let's make this change. Let's see if this is the way. Let's provide this coaching. It's just being nimble in everything you do, and even with your clients. Hey, we offer this service. Well, can you offer this service too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love being nimble.
Well, I tell you, and that back to your blockbuster story that we talked about a while in a different life. Imagine if they would have been nimble. Like we talked about, I could just envision that boardroom of all these suits, and they're like, hey, anybody hear of this place called Netflix? And I could just hear, we've been doing it this way forever. We're fine. We don't need to switch anything, right? And now I think they say they have one store left. I don't know if it's real or if it's just imaginary. It's up in your neck of the woods, actually,
It is in
somewhere.
Bend, Oregon. I've seen it.
Oh, isn't it's open still?
Yeah, it's real. As long as last year ago it's real.
I mean, what do you do, like you said, from almost 10,000 stores to one? Obviously that was there were some people that were not nimble in that situation. So I think that that's just a testimony to how critical it is to be nimble. And as long as you're faster than the punch, then you're safe, right? In the box, in the ring,
That's right. Or you duck quick. You got to get that duck in there every so often and make sure you squat them back. Don't take no for an answer.
Oh my gosh, I don't understand. So how often do you get to box?
I box every day. Every day. I still hit the gym, and I don't actively I'm not actively fighting because at this point in the game that can do some damage. I might look like my latest LinkedIn post, but but I do box every morning. So I go to a gym and I'm on the bag every day.
That's awesome. Well, that kind of leads me into the last one of see it through. I'm assuming then that for people that are listening, it's just about not giving up. But I'm curious what see it through means from Transblue's perspective.
Yeah, man, so important to finish what you started. And for us, it really comes down to, how many times have you had a job done or you've had even having your lawn cut, right? It's,
Yeah.
oh man, they left the grass clippings all over the sidewalk, or oh man, they blew debris on my car or whatever it is. It's taking that last 15 minutes on every job site and just making sure that it's absolutely crystal clear, perfect. And
Yeah.
that goes back to that, wow, that incredible customer experience, right? And so that's what we're focusing on. And if you don't take that extra time, if you don't go back and look at it, if you don't read that email before you send it and notice you had 3 misspelled words or whatever it is,
Yeah.
just taking the time to be world class in everything you do. And that's I think that's huge, because if you tell people you're world class, if you tell people you're the best, but you don't finish strong, you aren't world class.
So I feel like, and I'm going to challenge you on this, not because I don't agree with you. I just don't know how to answer the question. So I'm going to ask the expert here. I get a lot of people, David, that say time is like money. Time is the opposite of profit. I get these different comments that way. I can't afford to spend 15 minutes to clean up my job site. And I tell people you can't afford not to, but then they're like, well, what does that mean? So what do you answer? Because I think about this, just to your example, somebody just goes and cuts a couple acres of a property, and they're getting X number of dollars, and they're getting pressure from wherever to do it faster, do it better, do it cleaner, and now I have the chance of going to my next job or spending 15 minutes to clean this up, or again, numbers irrelevant. How do you get people's mindset to change to that spot where they are really so dialed into making that look right, that that's all that they care about, rather than jumping onto the next one and trying to make $1 more?
This is an amazing question. I think it's one of the best questions I've ever been asked. And I love this, because my first question would be to you would be, what's your cost of acquisition per client? And then what's the average job size? And so if you know your cost of acquisition, and then you know the average cost of a job, then you know how much it's now worth. And we have a phrase called own the neighborhood. And that means that out of every single job we do in a neighborhood, we want to get 4 other jobs in that neighborhood based
Okay.
on an incredible customer experience. So if they're doing a job, they want to get 4 referrals in the same place. Now,
Okay.
if the cost of acquisition is $2,500 and you pull 4 jobs, that's worth $10,000. So
Yeah.
on some level, that 15 minutes could be worth $10,000. But
Sure.
if the average job size is $35,000, now you know what happens. And what happens when that neighbor says, man, that experience, it cost a lot, and the finished product just wasn't, I was just so disappointed in it. They could have done just a little bit better. And that feedback goes out to all those neighbors who don't buy from you,
Sure.
right?
Wow.
And there's neighborhoods that are very, very expensive to work in. We all know them. We all know the areas to drive through, or that are nice in our areas. And when you do a job in that area, right? It's got to be the most incredible experience so that the neighbors buy and the customer comes back. It's about having those repeat customers. The customer that you already have is, like you said, free.
Yeah.
You've already got them.
Yep.
They're already an advocate. The one that you have to go out and buy is because you didn't do an incredible job for the past customer. So count the number of referrals and attribute that to the incredible customer experience in that last 15 minutes or that last $7.58 that you pay in wages to cover that.
So I can see it from I can see how you can explain that to the owner. How does the owner, so to speak, or the leader explain that to the guy that or girl that's on the machine? Because, it's just an interruption in my day to have to stop. I just want to get on to the next. How do you get that culture to them? I mean, to me, that's the hardest part, is to get that actual worker to think like an owner.
Yeah, I mean, on some level, it's just, I think that's a lot of repetition. But I
Okay.
also think that, when you put that route together for that lawn service or whatever it is that we're talking about, it's making sure that you don't say, well, Mr. Smith's house gets 15 minutes. And if you're 2 minutes late out of Mr. Smith's house, we're going to have a conversation at the end of the day. And you've got 10 jobs on this route and you have to be back by 5 o'clock.
Right.
Instead of putting 10 jobs on the list, why not put 9?
Right.
Right. And why not focus on that experience and then tell that crew lead, hey man, listen, we're going to run a net promoter score, or we're going to, run some surveys. We're going to get some feedback. And every time that you get 5-star feedback, or every time you get a referral, I'm going to give you $100 bonus. Right. Put your money where your mouth is. Show them that you will pay and that you care about the very best. And you'll incentivize people to go above and beyond for the customers. And I think that so much of it is attributed to how we motivate our people.
Right. How do you guys motivate at Transblue, or do you have a variety of different ways based on the individual?
Yeah, this is great. So, I'm a big believer in, motivating through cash. I'll just be blunt about it.
Sure.
But there's things that I want to see happen, right? And so if we said, hey, this is an incredible customer experience, for every referral that you get in the neighborhood that comes from your work, you guys get $250, right? So for every neighborhood that they work in, they can make an extra $1,000. Why? Because if my cost of acquisition is $2,500, I'm saving $1,500 and I'm getting 4 jobs. So I'm actually making more money by having them do a great job. And why not put that money back into the pocket of my crew members?
And I think that that's a really great equation, David. I think that's where a lot of people miss out on. They don't extrapolate that out. They don't figure out what the cost of acquisition is. They don't understand what it saves you in the long run. I mean, to your point, if one person doing a good job, if we can link that to 4 jobs and your cost of acquiring a customer is $2,500, you just saved yourself 10 grand on acquisition cost. So why not give some of that back to the person that helped you do that? So whether it's just like, I don't think we stop to make that equation speak in real life terms to be able to see it justified. So I appreciate that you did that for us. So
to take it one little step further, I just want to share this little equation with you because I think it's important. In 2021, we did, in the first 6 months of the year, we had 61 jobs come on board by the way of referral. An average of $35,000 a job, that's $2 million worth of revenue in projects because of referral. And so when you look at that in your business and in your system, you didn't have to pay for any of that advertising, but you were able to grow your system by word of mouth and just doing a good job. That 15 minutes is more advertising dollars and more growth potential than anything else you can ever do on Google or Facebook or any of those platforms. If you want to grow your business, take care of your people and take care of your customers.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I think that referrals tend to be higher margins. Referrals tend to be lower, on the problem scale because there's expectations set up. I mean, if somebody only is going with you because you're the lowest or you're the quickest or whatever, I mean, it usually tends to derail. So I think thinking about the referrals is a great way to justify that. And this is all because of that extra 15 minutes, like you said, that we started from the $7.28 or whatever you figured that 15 minutes cost. So that's awesome. As we come in for landing today, I want to ask you, if for somebody listening, what would your tip of the week be for somebody listening right now? What's on your heart for them?
Tip of the week, based on what we've talked about, loving what you do. I would say, before you start your business, or if you're in your business right now, take a minute and put yourself in your customer's shoes and think about all of the expectations that you would want to have met if you were having the work done or the job done or the service provided that your company would or does provide. And look at that and then set those as the KPIs and the benchmarks for moving forward in your business, and live up to your own expectations. And what you'll see is amazing results. You won't hit them all in the beginning, but it's something to achieve and aspire to, and it can really change the trajectory of your business.
Wow, that's fantastic. And I think we struggle with KPIs, or key performance indicators, because if we've never gone through this before, we don't even know what, it's uncharted territory. So sometimes it's hard to put those out there, those benchmarks, like you said. But I'd much rather have a benchmark out there than nothing at all.
Right, totally.
It's so are you a golfer at all?
I haven't golfed in a long time, but I do enjoy golf.
So, I always say that I tell you, next time you're in town, here in Milwaukee or in San Diego, whichever house I'm at, I will make sure and take you to this brand new golf course. It's fantastic. It's the greenest, plushest, beautifulest golf course you've ever been in. And so we walk up to the first tee and I say, okay, why don't you go ahead and tee off, David? And you look around and you go, well, where's the green? Well, there isn't any. There's no green and there's no hole. And that's kind of like this, running a business without benchmarks, without a KPI, is you're just hitting a ball and you don't know where you're going. So I think it's really smart to at least have some potential goal out there. And do you guys help your franchisees with goal setting and different things like that along the way?
We do. We have what we call scorecards that measure those KPIs, and there's 9 or 10 items on that KPI that they want to hit those every single week. Boom, boom, boom. From gross margin to how many times you visit the client, to the speed of the proposal turnaround, so on and so forth. So they always have something to benchmark against.
Wow. 9 of them, man. There's a little intimidation for you.
If you've never had any, it's a lot. But if you don't know what you don't know, exactly. 9 is better than 18.
Yes. Yep. We're only doing 9 holes today, David. So we're good. Okay. So, hey, one last question and I'm going to let you go. What is one thing that most people listening wouldn't know about you that you feel comfortable sharing?
Something that, I'm so open about myself, but I'll tell you one thing that most people won't know about me, that they will know if they listen to this call, is that I'm having a 3rd child. My wife is pregnant and we're having a baby, and we're bringing number 3 into the family. So it's super exciting and the family is growing. So there is the secret reveal. If my wife sees this, she'll probably be upset with me, but I did that just for you.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored. And when is this going to happen?
I think in about maybe 7 months or something,
Wow. Holy cow. Well, I'm going to see you before that. So I'll be honored to get a check-in and see how things are going. That's so cool. Congratulations. And
thank you.
Feel free to leave at 5 today just to kind of celebrate. Okay.
I'll do that. Thanks for letting me off early.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so cool. So if you're listening again and something sparked today because you're like, man, I don't love my job. I want to love it. I want to think about this potential franchise opportunity, or I have some other idea in mind, whatever it is, I want to encourage you, rather than jump into your next podcast, or rather than jump off the elliptical that you're on, or whatever you're doing, and go on to your next thing, just kind of sit with this for a little bit, think about it, dig a little deeper, and understand why you don't love what you do, and maybe the franchise opportunity is something that is of value and a potential for you. And if people want to learn more, David, what's the best way for somebody, if they wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, best way to reach out to me is hit me up on LinkedIn, David Wescott on LinkedIn, and send me a message, and let's hook up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations on you're way too old to be having kids. So I don't know if they've shared that with you yet, but I don't know what the heck old guys like you and me. I have 4 grandboys already, my friend. So I don't know where you're doing this, but
I'm scared about this. This actually freaks me out. This is what I've been telling you all the time. So
you're going to do awesome, dude. You're going to do awesome. So, oh my gosh, that is so cool. So thank you so much for hanging out. Again, if you don't do anything, if you're listening and you don't do anything with what we shared with you today, that's on you. That's not on David. That's not on me. Our goal is to bring stuff every week so that you can do little course corrections in your life, and maybe something about the outstanding service, or maybe something about great communication, maybe something on those 6 pieces that we talked about really resonated. If it did, I encourage you to reach out to David and check in with him. He's as real as it gets when it comes to all this stuff. And if nothing else, follow him on LinkedIn and watch and see all the places that he gets to go. And then maybe someday you'll get to go to the same places. So thanks so much for hanging out with us. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.